Jason.
Danny.
How we doing, buddy?
Doing good. I feel like I have weathered a storm. I'm through.
Oh yeah, because you had a really busy
Yeah, that was like
September, didn't you?
like 13 weddings in 30 days. That was, which I listened to a podcast recently. I think it was on Rue's podcast, and there was someone there who had done. I think they said during COVID they did like 24 weddings in a month.
What?
Yeah, during like just when after COVID happened, and
Who
I
was
was like,
that?
it was Top Table Films.
Oh yeah, because I've not listened to the full episode of that.
Yeah,
I've listened to bits,
yeah.
but that's outrageous.
I mean, come on, he did like 9 in a row, then a day off, then 8 in a row, and you're like,
What?
so on the back of that, I have just bought 3 18 terabyte hard drives just to like, make myself at ease. Can I back up things properly after weddings? So I just.
Oh, that just gives me the fear.
I know that. Although he did make a point, like once you've done one, you could do 9. Which, crazily makes sense.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
No.
When I've done my 4 in a rows, that's how I feel. I've got one out of the way. It's just 3 extra days of work. It's fine.
No.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
Yeah. He's
Your body is like broken.
I know. He's a monster.
Like you
but-
must be, because I know as well. Like when I've done them like multiples in a row, I kind of feel like I get to the point where that's why I don't really do them now. I've kind of made peace with it. I'm like not booking that many in a row anymore. But I kind of feel like you're just going through the motions almost of like the wedding day as well. Like you're not, because you're so tired.
Yeah. It's all blending into one.
Yeah.
But we just have a really bad reaction to the word no. Like,
But you need to.
you need to. But I will never.
It's the sensible option. Otherwise, it's just. And think of like think of all the content in that you need to make on the back of it as well, like all the teasers and yeah.
Well, he was saying that he makes the teasers in the morning before the next wedding. So good on him.
He's a machine.
Absolute machine.
The amount of reels and stuff like that you need to make as well. But I guess speaking of reels, we have a pretty cool guest on with us today. A nice little segue into our guest on, Mr. Andrew Keher. How you doing, mate?
Good morning. That was a very nice transition that you did.
Thank you.
I never know how he's going to do
enjoyed
it.
that.
He does it every episode, and I never know how he's going to do it. And he just latched on immediately there. Think of the content. Think of the reels. I'm like, oh no, he's done it. He's done it.
Yeah. Well done. I
Thanks,
could see
mate.
it coming from a mile off, but I still appreciated it.
Oh, you would,
Yeah, you would. You've been there. How you getting on, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. You've caught me on a very rare, semi-quiet morning. So you have my full attention now. I have got no chaos going on. There's no messages pinging. I haven't forgotten to deliver a gallery. The kids are mostly safe. The dog is asleep. So I'm here.
Wow.
I was
Open
thinking like
to-
you had people planted in the background, like as soon as you said that, just to run round with like a pan and fire or something like that.
Well, maybe. But thank you for having me on such an illustrious podcast that's all to do with wedding videography.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about wedding videography, but maybe I can give you some kind of little nugget into the way us peasants do things, and you might be able to take something away.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about this,
Is he our first photographer?
I think outside of the summit episodes, I think he is.
Yeah, because Michaela is a photographer, but she wasn't talking. Yeah, so okay. So Michaela is a photographer.
Michaela is a photographer, so outside of the summit episodes,
Yes.
because they were summit specific ones, this is our first like actual TWVP podcast with one of them.
Yeah, and because videographers couldn't figure out how to deliver excellent videos online, we had to get a photographer to come on and show us how to do that. So
I feel very, very privileged, very special.
Well, I mean, it's not without merit. I mean, for those of you that, I mean, you would really need to be living in the 90s with no broadband connection to not know who Mr. Andrew Keher is. But for those of you that don't know, Andrew is a photographer based down south, and he has really kind of like taken Instagram and socials by storm with his like very funny and super like relatable to like photographers and videographers, like the situations that we can find ourselves in sometimes. And you in terms of, I guess, of your social reach and your following, it has just continued to it's been like a bit of a rocket ship, hasn't it?
It has. It started slowly. In fact, it started in reverse. It started with me losing hundreds and hundreds of followers, and eventually thousands of followers. And in fact, in a technical sense, since I started posting the reels with intent almost 2 years ago, I've pretty much lost every follower that I started with when I started that journey. I think I've lost about 10,000 followers over the last 2 years. So there's a lot of people who don't like what I'm doing, or they can't see the benefit in following along, and they've jumped ship. But the lovely thing is that for every person who thinks I'm a knobhead, or I'm a waste of time, or I'm an idiot, or whatever, there's been a little group of people who've decided to join along the way, and it's been interesting. It's been a journey of not self-discovery, but sort of self-awareness of where I was and what my place in this industry was, and eventually it's almost led to a place of self-acceptance where I very much know who I am and who I'm trying to speak to and how I can help those people. The origin story would be the moment where I was going out of business at the end of 2023, or halfway through 2023, I think, is when the warning signs were there. No bookings, very few inquiries, no engagement, no referrals, no mentions, no one commenting on my work, no one visiting my website. But, the ego led the way. And as I've said a few times, if anyone's heard me talk anywhere else, they will know that I used to pretty much consider myself the best wedding photographer in the world. That's how I viewed myself. My ego said to me, you are the best wedding photographer in the world. Your photographs are quite capable of dragging you out of this pit of despair that you found yourself in. People just need to see the photographs. They just need to see the photographs, and they'll call you up and everything will be fine. Don't panic. It gets to the end of 2023, and I still have about 3 or 4 weddings on the books for 2024. Now, traditionally, I know people tend to get rushes in their own period, but for me, December has always been the month where I get a lot of inquiries. I think maybe people are finishing work for the Christmas shutdown and they start to think about next summer or the summer after. I know people talk about the January rush, but just weirdly, over the last 10 years, I tend to get all mine in December. Got to the end of December, I had, I was going to say a different word then, let's keep it PG-13. I had very few inquiries in.
You can swear if you want. Don't
He
worry.
had fuck all.
he had sweet fuck all.
Basically, I had fuck all coming in. And you kind of, when you've been, not to spend the next 3 hours talking about my mental state, but when you've spent 10 years building yourself up to be the best in the business, even if you're not, even if, my wedding photographs are not the best in the world, but in your own mind, in your own way, in your own little world, for your clients, you have to give yourself props sometimes. And I thought I was pretty good. So I built myself up this way. And I had to finally realize that my photographs were not good enough by themselves to get the work in. December, no inquiries. And I thought, well, I'm pretty much out of business then. I've got 4 weddings next year. I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. I'm not going to be able to contribute to the mortgage. I need to do something drastic to get out of this. Now, a little part of me knew that what I was supposed to do was to get my arse out there and market wedding fairs, networking, join community photography groups, put my name forward, second shoot for people, pay for some Facebook ads, basically get my arse in gear, get out there and get the work. But the ego part of me still thought that I was too good for all that stuff. I was too good to go to a wedding fair. I was too good to run an advert. So I thought I'd try something else. Let's try what everyone's talking about. I think they came out in 2021, Instagram Reels. So I was a few years late to the party, a couple of years late to the party. I had a little look online. I found inspiration from other sources, and I saw that people were having some success giving advice to couples. This is how naive I sound now. Pointing at things and saying three things to think about when you're choosing a wedding venue. 3 styles of dress to wear in June. 4 ways that you could, 4 different meals that you could select for your wedding guests. Well, you know, all the usual advice that people were putting out there. And I thought, well, if I do this, I can show my face online. I can show a bit of authority. I can be helpful to my couples. So I got my phone and my tripod, and I went off into the woods and I set it up. The dog was running around, and I started pointing at things. I didn't know what the reel was going to look like, but I knew from looking at other people's stuff that I needed to put text above my head. So I had to point at things like this. And then I'd get home and I'd sit there with the footage of myself. And they're still there. If anyone can be asked scrolling back 2 years, you will see me in the forest pointing at things. And I think the first one was 3 wedding trends for 2020, 2024, whatever it was. And I'm sitting there trying to work out what to say. And I think I did this for a couple of days. January 2024, New Year's resolution, post reels, get business. That was my plan. And after about 3 or 4 days of pointing at things, I just realized that this is not what works for me, because every photographer, every videographer has a different way that they like to talk to their couples, a different way that they present their work, what's valuable to them, what their style is, how they can help their couples, all the rest of it. And I've always found that I love that chat with the couples. I sit them down for a pint in the pub down the road, and we talk about their wedding, and we really get into it, and I play off what they tell me. So if they explain how they're having an outdoor ceremony, or it's all going to be in the same venue, then I can latch onto that and say, right, well, fantastic, you're getting married, everything's at the same venue, you're taking so much stress out of the equation. If you're looking, you know, for a nice, natural, relaxed day, you don't have to try and herd cats from one postcode to another postcode, and it's all. So I play off what they tell me. The problem with sitting in the forest with your dog, pointing at stuff that you don't quite know what you're going to create yet, is I had no one to riff off. I had no one to tell me what their hopes and desires were. I was just trying to create something in the void, and I'm quite bad at that. I don't like to give unsolicited advice to people who've not asked me for it. That's what unsolicited advice is. So you know what I mean. So if someone asks me something, I can fucking talk for hours on that subject, as you're probably about to witness. But if someone asks me, or they give me something to play off, now I can latch on it. Now I can use that 10 years of experience, and I can explain how I do it and what I'm passionate about and why I think that might be a bad idea, but maybe they could flip it into this. So the inexperienced reel creator in me really struggled in conveying what I wanted to convey. So after about 4 or 5 days, I started to make different kinds of reels, ones that amused me, ones that made me laugh, ones that were a little bit weird, a little bit zany, because if I'm being brutally honest, I was going out of business. So I thought, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? And I did that every day for about 4 months. I posted a reel every day. Occasionally I would flip it back and try and offer some advice to couples, and they just didn't feel right to me. So I leaned into the stuff that I was enjoying. And after about 4 months, 1 reel a day, so more than 100 reels at this point, I had this change of of mindset, I suppose. We all love that word mindset. I love that word mindset when you see it pop up. Makes people roll their eyes. But I feel that I'm the word works for me. It's a legitimate word because the mindset for me is not a buzzword that I've just discovered and I thought, oh yeah, that explains everything. I had a really shit negative mindset going into 2024. The mindset is what nearly destroyed my business. I gave you the very nutshell version, but I was very negative. I thought that the industry owed me a living. I thought that my photographs were good enough. I thought that new photographers were ruining it for me. I thought people were undercharging. They were ruining it for me. I looked at cool young photographers who just came onto the scene after COVID and they were shooting wonky, blurry photographs, which I thought at the time made no sense. I didn't enjoy them. And yet I saw these people on podcasts doing workshops, being happy and successful and thriving. And they've only been shooting weddings for 5 minutes. And I was very, very negative about the whole thing. So the mindset is what nearly sank me. And it was only by flipping that mindset a different way that enabled me to kind of realize that it wasn't everyone else's fault. It was pretty much, it was my fault.
Yeah.
I was the person who was destroying my own career.
Have you seen Lumix have just announced another new camera, the S12?
Well, you know I have.
This camera is chock full of features that wedding videographers like you are going to love, including 5.1K open gate at 50 frames a second for the first time.
Incredible slow-mo footage at 100 frames a second in 4K.
Best in class image stabilization.
And also a new and improved hybrid phase detect autofocus.
You can get your hands on this camera by loaning it for up to 48 hours. Just visit the Lumix store.
And if you do decide that this is the camera for you, remember to use code TWVP at the Lumix store for 10% off. That's right, 10% off this brand new camera that we believe is the perfect camera for wedding filmmakers. We've had conversations, with people before in the past, and it's been like, oh, it's just I'm not favored by the algorithm, or my work is good enough, but it's just I'm not on Instagram's nice list at the minute, and it's like it's quite. I think because see when you're that negative about things, it's exceptionally hard to pull yourself out of it, and a lot of the time, really, you are the only person that can pull yourself out of it because you'll listen. Nice mug, like that. But I think a lot of the time it is actually only the person themselves that's able to bring themselves out of the negativity, because you don't want to listen to anybody else. Anybody, you could have
Exactly.
You could have an Instagram expert. You could have the head of Instagram basically saying to you, it's nothing to do with being favored by Instagram. It's ultimately the content that you put out there, and whether or not it's good enough. But the only person that can really bring yourself out of that spiral of negativity is going to be yourself, and it's it's also probably one of the hardest things to do, to recognize yourself that you're being, a negative Norman or a negative Nancy, and pull yourself out of it, because it's also not a very happy place to be, as obviously as you attested to there. It's quite lonely.
I find that the mindset stuff and what you're trying to do is so much more important, because if you can get that right, and that took me a long time to get that right in my own mind, but once you get that right, and you understand that process of incremental improvement in your reels, now you can start to, and getting a solid Instagram profile. I don't go on TikTok very much, so everything's really based on Instagram, but if you can get that solid Instagram profile with the correct pin posts at the top and the correct highlights, which invites people onto a certain type of journey that you want to take them on, now you can experiment with stuff. If you've got that solid base, now you can start experimenting. If your mindset's in the right place and you know what you're trying to do, you can experiment and start putting down those little pieces of content, those little layers that start to build up and build up. And now I've got nearly 2 years worth of stuff on my Instagram that's out there like a dark army of goblins, and it's gathering people and eyes towards me at all times. So
It's a very like test, measure, learn type of mentality, isn't it? Like when it's like put the reel out there, test how it goes, measure how it went, and then learn from it and put that into practice for the next one.
Absolutely.
Rather than have the I guess the defeatist mindset of I've put it out there, it didn't work, fuck that, I'm not doing it again. That's
the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's the nail on the head. When you expect success, when you expect the metrics of success, you've put 3 hours into this sneak peek and it's fantastic. The music's there. You've tagged the venue in and it gets 5 views and no inquiries. You pissed off. You want to walk away from Instagram for the next week. Whereas if you do it to see how this particular piece of music performs, and it doesn't do very well, but you're still convinced that it's great, that it's a good musical track. So you just do it again 2 weeks later, but you move the music so that it hits the build up a little bit quicker. Or maybe you cut out the shit at the start where people are coming into the room, and you just and you put that out into the world and you test it again. Then you realize that, right, okay. I was talking to a videographer, a real videographer, the other day. James Tracy, do you know James Tracy? Mm-hmm. Lovely guy from Manchester.
Yeah.
And he's got a little reel that he's working on at the moment. I hope he gets very embarrassed if he's listening to this. And he's got a nice little clip of the bride's mum tripping as she walks up the aisle. I mean, it wasn't nice for the bride's mum, but she laughed about it. Everyone was laughing. She said that he had full permission to share it, not a problem. So we've been chatting, and he's coming to the next workshop as well. But I gave him a little preview, and we were chatting about it. And he's put the reel out there, and he's looked at his statistics, and he sees that a lot of people stop watching as soon as the bride's mum trips, but he's still got a good 10-15 seconds of reel left. So what he's learned from this is that when you give the payoff too soon, people leave and watch time tanks, and the algorithm decides that people don't actually resonate with this reel, so they don't show it to as many people, and you get low views. Now, the old way of looking at it for James would have been to go, well, that didn't work, that was shite, I'm not posting that video ever again.
Yeah.
But now he's all full of ideas and inspiration after a little Instagram chat session. Now I said to him, maybe you could experiment with showing more build up. I want to see happy faces looking to where the bride's coming in. Then I want to see the bride coming in, then back to the happy faces, then back to the bride, then closer up on the happy faces, then finally she falls over, and hopefully you've got a clip somewhere of a guest going, "Oh fuck," and that's the end. There's no fat that people can scroll away from. You hook them in, you give them the meat, you give them that little emotional journey, that little build up, then you pay off, and then you move on. So I think he's going to rework it, and he's going to post it again. But the nice thing now is if it doesn't work again, he can take that same thing and he can work it again and start to really get into it. Apparently, some studies have shown that on a Monday, people want to be inspired.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday, they want to be nurtured with a tip or a trick, something to get the old cogs turning. But by Friday, they're ready for the weekend. They don't want to learn. They don't want to be inspired. They want to be entertained. So that's where you would show your bride falling over, or make your funny reel, or your observation, or something daft that happened to you that you just want to tell people about. And then it goes into the time of the day. So there's so many factors that I almost think we're doing ourselves a disservice to make one post and say, that was shit and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
The algorithm is a funny beast, but essentially it simply shows your piece of content to a small group of people. And if they watch it, it will show it to more people that it considers similar to that audience. It's not trying to blacklist you. It's not trying to ruin, your chances of getting a booking. It's just a vehicle to show people your stuff. If they like it, if they engage with it, if they resonate with it, it will show it to more people.
Yeah, I've been on that kind of journey as well, where I posted every single day for a while. I think it was 2022. Not necessarily because I was because that was during the kind of the really busy period of COVID. So I had so much content, and I didn't go down the route of showing my face. I did it sporadically, but it was mainly wedding content that happened, and I did it for like 30 days before I got a hit. And it's amazing when you get one hit, like that whole algorithm, if some people watch it, it'll show it to others. And now if more people are watching it, more people see it. So it spirals.
When you just look at the metrics of success, the traditional, the views and the likes and the shares. Remember I said I got that first reel that did really nicely. And then the next day I did my next post and it did absolutely shit. And it really made me want to just give up, because I thought I've spent so much time over the last 4 months doing this. What is the point? So it took a while to realize, but this is what I get into when we do workshops, and it's nothing that no one else has not said before. This stuff is all out there in the wild, and some people make it very complicated. Some people have very complex matrices of post type and target audience and this and that and all the rest of it. But the simplest format that worked for me, and again, it's called lots of different things, but it's that idea of one type of post to get eyes on your work, one type of post to build that trust, and one type of post to actually sell your services. And that's fine. Okay, there's 3 different types of post, but what people and what I've not really seen spoken about much. So I'm happy that I interpreted this and I use this to stay sane in this content journey. But when you're trying to get eyes on your post with a very specific type of post to attract those people in, you get a lot of engagement. You get a lot of views relative to your normal content. The number is not important. What's important is compared to what you normally get. When you go out there and the bride falls in a fountain, or the groom drops the cake, or a seagull flies off with the mum's hat, whatever it happens to be, that gets the engagement, that gets the views, that's the one that goes viral and all the rest of it. The second kind of post is the one that builds trust with your audience. This is the one that nurtures that relationship, speaks to the people who already follow you, gives us a little bit more of an insight into who you are, where you came from, what you're trying to do, what you love about your job, why you do it differently. Those are the nurturing posts. And then the last kind of post is selling your services. Very specific, sell your services. And the attraction post gets lots of engagement. The nurturing post gets a medium amount of engagement. And the selling post gets very little engagement, and that's absolutely normal. And that happens on pages in the wedding industry. It happens when the Kardashians try and sell makeup. It happens to the biggest accounts. It happens to the smallest accounts. No one likes to be sold to. It generates the least amount of engagement, but that's the post that pays the bills. That's the post that gets people to book you, that directs them to get in touch with you, to tell people that you've got slots available for a wedding, that you've got a workshop that you're doing, that you've got a new podcast out. It's the post that directs people to do something. Mm-hmm. And the problem that we have in our little industry, people who don't think about this stuff very much, is they want their post to do everything. They want the post to get eyes on their work, and also to tell people what we're about, and also to ask them to get in touch with us and buy something. The problem is, not the problem, but from what I've observed and what you can see every time you open Instagram and you start to look at it with this hat on, this nerdy hat of looking at these things. When people try and do all 3, the post generally will flop in comparison to if they make the post specifically targeted to one of those 3 things. So if the bride falls in the fountain, the post is about the bride falling in the fountain. It's a funny post. It's not the time to tell people that you're a videographer and you're looking for bookings.
Yeah.
That's not where you get your customers. That's where you get new eyes on your page. The other kind of post is when you nurture it. That's when you show people your editing process, or why you love to shoot unobtrusively, or why you like to do super slow-mo, swooping in fire and ice style, whatever it is. That's where you get people to be interested in your work and actually to go a little bit deeper and to find out, who is this person? Let me explore them a little bit. And then finally, you build up enough of this trust that you are allowed to sell your services. This is what I talk about in the workshop. It's like casting a magic spell. I don't want to give away the whole workshop, but in order to, and the reason I say cast a spell is because the whole workshop is a nerdy exploration of a fantasy world that I have created that we all exist in. And we're trying to defeat something called the Forest of Noise. And I've got a little pub just outside the forest, and that's where I welcome everyone to. And we sit round with a beer by the fire, and we work out how you are going to get through the Forest of Noise. This side, sad, obscurity, no bookings, not trusted. To the other side, trusted, thriving, loads of bookings. Everyone takes you seriously. So in order to sell your products, you need to cast the spell. You need to send your magic out into the world and say, I am a wedding videographer and I am available to shoot your wedding. In order to cast that, you need mana. A wizard needs mana. And the only way that you can build up enough mana is to attract people and to nurture them. So the mindset shift is to cast that spell, you need to post at least 10 times, attract new people, nurture them. In those 10 posts, you are not going to mention that you are available to hire, not once, because when you do that, it sucks all the magic away. You can't convert people into sales until you have built up the trust. So you have to nurture them. You have to nurture them 10 times. And then finally, you're allowed to say, I am a wedding photographer and I am available in 2025. And now suddenly you've built up that trust. You've done the work. You can ask for the sale clearly. The sad thing is, after you've done that, the mana drains away and you have to build it up again with another 10 posts. And that's repeatable experiments that I've done. I've even started to do one this week in preparation for my next workshop. So I kind of messed it up this morning though by posting another attraction post, but I'll talk about that later. I made a very specific post and it was designed to get eyes on my page. It was one where I was talking about having ADHD and there's lots of screens open on your desk while you're trying to edit a wedding.
Love that.
Saw it.
That's so good, that one.
Once you've got all 10 screens open, you edit one photograph and then you fuck off and make a coffee or whatever.
I just love to see that when you pulled the iPad from behind.
Yeah. So I could have kept that. I was going to go and get more screens from around the house, but I've learned that you need to kind of when you're doing a funny one, you have to get to the point after about 30 seconds. Yeah. Otherwise people lose interest. But I could have kept that going. I was going to get all kinds. But the purpose of this, and see, almost 2 years into this, everything has a purpose now. The purpose of that was to show people at the workshop that this was a specific post designed to get people to look at my page. So before I posted that, I was fairly sure it was going to get to the number of an attraction post. So what I would 25 to 50,000 views. I was fairly sure that would hit it, and I think it's up to 100,000 now or whatever. And that's fine. That's exactly what I made it for. The second post that I did 2 days later was a nurturing post where I was nurturing my audience. It was not designed, even though it's still mildly amusing, I think, it wasn't designed to be shareable and relatable and all the rest of it. It was, in fact, if I just look at it, I've got me page open there. So, yes, so I was talking about getting an email where they wanted £2,000 off me to be on their featured best of list.
Mm-hmm. Oh, with the cats.
So with the cats and stuff, that was not designed to be shared and all the rest of it. That was just meant to build a relationship with the photographers and the videographers who are on my page already, to show them that, look, Andy also thinks that this stuff is shit. And he's got an email. I got that email. and I've built a relationship with them. I've shown them. I've threw that whole Instagram account literally in the trash. And if we look at the numbers on it, it's got about, if I click on this button, sorry, doing a live check of where it's up to. So it's got about less than a quarter. It's got less than a quarter, 20% of the engagement of the attract post, which is exactly what I knew was going to happen when I posted it. If I was always expecting things to go viral and get 10,000 likes and get 100,000 views, and I went to that effort and I made that post and it only got 5,000 views, the old me would be very sad and not do it again. But I knew that wasn't going to perform as well. And I still made it and I still put it out there because I have to build up to the spell. So the next post I was supposed to make was to introduce the Glasgow workshop I'm doing next month. However, I'm doing a little thing on that tonight with the lads themselves. We're going to do a little 10-minute segment. So I kind of put that one out of my mind. But I knew if I made that today, this morning, like I was supposed to, I would put up workshop, Glasgow, 4th of November, comment Scotland, love to see you there. No matter how much effort I put into that, it's going to do about 5% or less of a funny reel.
Yeah.
And I am absolutely fine with that now because I understand that's how Instagram works. That's how social media works. When you get your head around what you're posting out there, your heart can be satisfied. Where a lot of sadness comes from, and I've said this to people before, but sometimes, if you've heard this before, I apologize, but sometimes it comes as a little light bulb moment to a lot of people. Wedding photographers especially, we hate selling stuff. We're shit at it. We apologetically push our price list over the table to our couples and we say, but don't make any decisions too quickly. Go away and have a good think about it, and then let me know if you need anything. Because we think that weirdly this reverse selling is a tactic, whereas people who are actually good at sales will tell you, no, that's a shit way to sell something.
Yep.
So we're terrible at that, and we don't nurture our audience because we hate putting less than perfect work on Instagram. So what we do is we put our perfect pictures on Instagram, and we say, I had a lovely time at Sarah and John's wedding in Edinburgh Castle. If you're looking for a wedding photographer in Edinburgh Castle, please get in touch. And we do that every day. We do that every week. And without realizing, what we've done is we've built up a series of selling posts, constant, weak, unintentional selling. We don't realize we're doing it. What we think we're doing is attracting people with our amazing photographs, but we're not. What we're doing is selling to people. I was at this wedding. I am a wedding photographer. Please book me. Get in touch, DM me, whatever. That's a selling post. But as I've said, if you don't build up the magic to sell, it's not going to work. And that's what happened to me. For 10 years, I posted every day. My best photographs, thinking that it was going to do everything, but it didn't. All it did was try to sell to people with no story, with no reason why they should care about my photographs. Why should they give a shit about me? None of that kind of stuff. It was just photograph, please book me. Photograph, please book me. And it just doesn't work anymore. People buy from people, so you have to show them who you are.
Can I ask, just obviously with the content that you are posting, when you think about the target audience of it, obviously it was more relatable to people in the industry than it was maybe to somewhat like a client, for example. So
yes,
obviously that gets pushed out to everyone in the industry. I don't think there was a group chat that existed that didn't have one of your videos pop into it. So with that, obviously it turns into like attracting that audience, which isn't necessarily your client, and then you're maybe nurturing that audience, which isn't your client either. So, but how did that content do for your business when it came to your clients? Like, did they start noticing these posts? Did they start reacting to it?
So the worst business decision I made for wedding photography was to start talking to other wedding photographers. I cannot stress that enough. That was the worst business decision I made. I realized it months later. But at the time, I was enjoying the dopamine. I was enjoying the likes and the comments and the shares. After doing it for 6, 7, 8 months, I very specifically made a conscious decision that educators in the photography industry exist, content creators, educators, people who do workshops and they speak at conferences. And I wanted to try that. I wanted to go down that route. I thought someone's got to do it. Why can't it be me? You know, you have the big names in America, big names at these headlining these conferences and all the rest of it. I thought, why not? Why not give it a little try? So I very specifically made that decision about 7 to 8 months into it, which then opened doors, and I was invited to conferences and to do workshops and onto wonderful podcasts like this. If I didn't have that plan, I would be fucked when it came to my business. So I do say to people, what kind of annoys me is a lot of not annoys me, I don't get annoyed by anything, but what I always notice is a lot of these big photography and video accounts maybe create the illusion that they shoot 40 or 50 weddings a year. But when I look at their social media, they are very specifically talking to the community. They are trying to sell their presets or their LUTs or their training manuals or their downloadable PDF, and they're doing their conferences and all the rest of it. That's very obvious. That's what they're trying to do, and I think most of us can spot that. But that's why I'm very, very honest in what I'm trying to do. I am trying to speak to the photography community, and I've worked out how to do it, and I understand the process of what I'm trying to do. And I feel that often, or well, in one way, like what you've just said then, there hasn't been a WhatsApp group without one of my daft reels in it at some point. I feel, not that I can prove it, but I feel that with the way that I do things and the way that I think about the attraction and the nurturing and all the rest of it, I feel that a lot of people make funny reels, but in order to cross a threshold, in order to get through the forest of noise and get into those WhatsApp groups and be almost like a name within the industry that people go, oh yeah, maybe they don't know my name, but they'll say, oh, that fellow with the long hair who pops up every now and again with a funny reel. If I hadn't have done all the work behind the scenes and been very, very specific in what I'm trying to do, I don't think I would have got into those groups the way that I have done by just making funny reels and throwing them out there into the world. So yes, I am specifically talking to photographers, but the techniques that I'm using, I think, absolutely translate into photographers who just want to speak to their couples, because it's the same principle. It's just marketing. It's just basic marketing, but somewhere along the lines, we kind of forgot that that's what social media is about for a small business, and we don't think about it very much, and it's not very clear what we're supposed to be doing. It's all very chaotic. It doesn't seem to work. So I'm hoping that I can step into that gap,
Yeah.
and say to people, this is what I think you should be doing.
So when you just going back to, I guess, when you said that it was like the worst business decision in terms of like your photography. So did you has the reels had any impact on your actual like photography bookings?
Yes. I never really work on a referral network, but it seems to have evolved from just being in everyone's face constantly for the last 2 years. If you can imagine the conversations, oh, I'm getting married, I want you to do me hair, or I want you to do me cake. Do you know any photographers?
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, there's this guy with long hair on Instagram. Hang on, I'll just find his name. So I get a lot of mentions, very random mentions from people I've never worked with. That's not a strategy. That's just a weird thing that's happened. But from a business point of view, the worst thing you can do is talk to your peers as your whole strategy.
Yeah.
It's nice every now and again. There's no rule for this. There's no council of social media experts who are going to shout at you if you do it wrong. You're absolutely allowed to throw a funny, relatable reel out there that talks to other videographers, but you'll find it's horrible. It's shit. When you don't get much engagement, you find the engagement within your community. Use it in the right way. If you lean into it every day, like what I did, you have to have a strategy for that as well. You have to be ready to monetize that community. Otherwise, ultimately, it's a hobby, or you're going to go out of business. So for me, I'm trying to turn it into a business. I want to go out there and do some education, do workshops, talk like this to rooms full of people, and see how many people I can help before it all falls apart.
Let's talk about backlog.
Woo!
Editing piles up fast and is overwhelming.
That's why we use brideandgroom.video, a wedding editing company that delivers stunning wedding films faster without compromising on quality.
If you're looking for an editor that's going to match your unique style so it feels like you've made them, you've found them.
Use code TWVP75 at checkout to get £75 off your first order and try out their service.
Clear your backlog and grow your business. Try brideandgroom.video today.
Hasta la vista, backlog. You mentioned it just there. Obviously, you've got the Glasgow workshop that is getting hosted by the boys over at Cinemate, the Perspective podcast. Shout out to Greg and Simon. So tell us a little bit about that. When it is, where it is.
Tuesday, the 4th of November. It's on a Tuesday. 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. at 210 Co. And here's a link to the map, which you can't see. It's a live one-day workshop where I'm pretty much going to do more of this, talking at people relentlessly until they run screaming from the room saying, I can't take any more. But we're going to explore in more detail and slightly more structured how I think people should be approaching their social media strategy as a photographer, as a videographer. And I'm doing it in my own little way, which is to create this little fantasy world and invite people onto the journey with me, explain what I'm doing, explain how it can work for them, how they can shift that mindset from maybe they're not in the bleak pit of despair where I was, but they might have got to a stage where they think social media is too much, it's too noisy, there's too many pieces of conflicting advice, and we don't really know what to do. And I'm going to talk about all this, and we're going to guide people through the concept of the different types of post. We're going to talk about how people can start to think about their own voice, their own point of view, their own personality, the proof that they're showing their couples. And then that will flow onto actually, hopefully, some practical advice on how to make a reel that is effective, and then how to experiment with that reel and how to use the same content and eventually discover how it's all done. So the kind of the anatomy of a good reel, the anatomy of a really good reel.
One question then that we do like to
Yes.
ask all of our guests on, which is obviously normally like videography related, but I'm sure you can share something.
You'll have an answer for this. Don't
You'll
worry.
definitely have an answer for this. Tell us about a time maybe when you have cocked up. What's your biggest balls up?
I've had many fuck ups over the last 10, 11, 12 years. I'm trying to think of the one that still brings me out in a cold sweat, which is probably it's no big deal, but I think it's on my list of reels to make, but
Okay.
I'm still not sure about it yet because it might be a little bit too raw for some of my couples, and it's quite it's a normal thing. The bride's dad passed away, and so when I do my pre-wedding meeting, and I'm chatting to, you probably already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I'm chatting away to them, and they say, so obviously, dad's passed away. Brother is going to walk me down the aisle. Granddad's going to do a speech. That kind of thing. It's
Yep.
it's lovely and it's poignant and all the rest of it. And you're like, absolutely, it's in the notes. I've literally got a space that talks about family dynamics. So they can put dad's passed away, brothers doesn't get on with mum, whatever it is. So there you are, doing the group photographs, having a lovely time. All the guests are behind you. You've just done the big group shot, and the families are all lining up. Bride's there, groom's there. Okay, there's mum. Rain looks like it's going to start raining, so we just need to get this show on the road. Brother, sister, dad. Dad, Jen's dad. Where's Jen's dad? Someone grab Jen's dad, please. And then you just look at the crowd, and everyone in the group is just looking at me like that. And then and I'm looking around, I'm going, what's going on?
Where the fuck is dad?
Is he behind me?
Luckily, then the mum, says something like, I'll be fucking shocked if he comes out and been dead for 10 years. Everyone's laughing. The bride's laughing. I
take the fall.
literally could have just sank into the ground and just bury me where you find me, because I'm done. Luckily, because it was 10 years previously, it was fun. It was funny. It was like the bride was laughing her head off. Everything was fine. It was almost like if someone had put a phone up, they could have recorded that as the reel itself. It was amazing. Scousers as well, so it was like the comic timing. It was perfect. Mum just waited until the last possible moment when everyone had gone quiet, and then said, he'll have a fucking job. He's been dead for 10 years.
Man.
But that's the one that kind of makes me, even now, come out into a cold sweat. I can feel me left eye started to water.
I was at one where the photographer done that, and it didn't go down well.
See, I shot one 2 weeks ago,
like,
right?
Did you not read the notes? He's died.
I know, and I had the note. I had the note in front of me, and I shouted it with my whole chest.
And I was just
Dad!
like, at that point, I'm like, I'm a separate company. We're not affiliated.
I shot one 2 weeks ago, and it was the groom's dad that had passed away, and the band had done 2 songs. But he passed away this year, so it was fresh.
Oh no! Don't tell me.
And for the third dance, it was not the groom's. It was the groom's mum that passed. And for the third dance, we need groom and mum. So welcome groom and his mum to the dance floor. And we're like,
and that's not even a thing.
That's not even a thing. That's not even a thing. I think they had like a third dance that was meant to be something else. I don't know. And it was just like silence, crickets.
I wonder if that'll be the last time they try and do that.
And then straight into Valerie after that. which ironically is the name of her mum. Could you imagine?
Well, folks, that I believe is all we have time for this week. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We've been so excited about getting you on. You have not disappointed whatsoever. I think this is going to be like a very in-depth educational episode for our listeners out there. So thank you so much for coming on. For anyone who is considering or going to Andrew's workshop or didn't even know it was happening, go and check it out. It will be, epic, I'm sure. I'm very, very gutted that I can't go. However, I will be able to get the goss from this man over here, because Jason will be attending
with my spy glasses, recording everything.
Many reels. You can buy them off him. So if you're interested, go and check it out. Andrew, it's on Andrew's page. It's on the Perspective Podcast page as well.
It'll also be in the show notes for this podcast,
and
too.
It'll be in the show notes for this podcast. So go and check it out. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from it and figure out, is it for you? Is it not for you? And both options are going to be a good investment. So thank you so much for coming on, mate. That's all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've been Danny.
I've been Jace.
And I've been Andrew.
See you next week.